on it now.
Aloha everyone, my name is Phoenix A'Blaze and welcome to the Tiki Oasis monthly series focusing on subjects of history, appropriation versus appreciation of cultures, minority cultures, Tiki culture, and mid-century Americana. The goal of this series is to provide a forum for education, knowledge, and conversation. Through this series, we invite marginalized groups to amplify their voices, to share their knowledge and experiences. We invite advocates and allies to ask questions, and we invite all to contribute to the broader discussion on diversity, inclusion, representation, and equality in the Tiki community. As we dive into our monthly series, there are many topics to unpack, discuss, and understand that are part of the current Tiki culture. For our topic this month, Tiki Oasis has invited Gregorio of Kon-Tigo Tiki Bar, Tommy of Secret Tiki Temple, Noah of Skull and Crown Trading Company, and Trader Sampson to share with us Chinese influence in Tiki, what inspired them and their bars, and the celebration of Harry Yee's legacy in Tiki. Throughout the conversation, please put your questions in the chat or Q&A section. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce my sidekick for today, Gregorio of Kon-Tigo Tiki Bar. Come on in.
Hi, Phoenix. How are you?
I'm good.
Hello, Tiki Oasis and everybody who is joining us today. Aloha. And well, to, I think, really kick off this happy hour, the first thing that we really want to do is get a drink ready. So hopefully you already have everything on you or what you can put together. We did send out that information. It is in our post on the Tiki Oasis post, Phoenix's. So basically everybody who's involved with this today, we have the recipe down there. So if you haven't seen it, just jump into the post, scroll down, and there it is. But I'm also going to read along with you as I build one. So here we go.
What are we making today?
So we are going to be making one of Harry Yee's world famous cocktails, and it was only appropriate to really highlight, you know, just one of the 15 to 20 different drinks that he had created himself. So today we're going to be making the Hawaiian Eye, and to start out with that, we're going to go with an 1.5 ounces of guava, 2 dashes bitters. And the really hard thing for us is to get white grapefruit. The pink grapefruit is readily available, but the white grapefruit is not. So when you have to, you know, unfortunately you got to go with the can. So we're gonna go with 3 ounces of the white grapefruit. We're trying to find the neighbor who has white grapefruit so we can move in next to them. We're gonna go with a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup. And we actually like to use this Demerara syrup just because it has like a slightly richer taste to it. Okay, so we're gonna go with a 3/4 ounce pour of a Demerara. We're using Hamilton 86 just to get a little bit more of a kick in there. It is happy hour. We want to be really happy. All right, we're gonna go with another 3/4 ounce of Dark Jamaican. Finally, we're gonna go with just a 1/4 ounce of white Puerto Rican just to lighten it up. Add some ice.
I'm excited.
Right. Shake it up.
I love that sound.
Until the tin is nice and frosty. Or when your hands hurt. That's when you know it is super ice cold. And that burn. So yes.
Gotta work out those muscles.
Yeah, all right. So I got one of my older mugs that I got here.
A little bit more ice in there.
Oh yeah, you want it to be super frosty. And with this, just gonna go with the strain pour. Get rid of that dirty ice. All right, if you've done it correctly, you'll be filling up your vessel right to the top.
That smells amazing.
Well, then here's the trick. Is just get a little bit of mint to really open up the aromatics, and you want to make sure to give that a little bit of a whack.
Or spank.
Oh, yes. It's never too early. And you know what? I'm just going to add one of our vintage hanging parasols in this to adorn it.
Oh, that's beautiful. It just adds in such a nice touch.
All right, I must have shaken pretty hard. My hair is all out of it. All right.
Cheers.
And cheers.
Okay. So delicious. All right. Well, thank you so much for making the Hawaiian Eye. Again, if you are interested in the recipe, head on over to Kon-Tigo Tiki Bar and his Instagram. You'll be able to find a recipe listed on the website. And if you are interested, you know, if you have any questions on the recipe or any other recipes from Harry Yee, put it in the Q&A box. We'll do our best to address those questions, and we can also share those recipes. Let's move on to the next segment. So I want to give a brief history on how Chinese immigrants came to the United States. I think it's important for us to really understand the very beginning and how it eventually translated or moved over into tiki culture.
Oh, that's great.
So, and, you know, when I was doing the research, I grew up, born and raised in America, didn't really know how my people got here. And it was very educational to go through this research and just really, you know, just kind of reflect and think like, gosh, our schools today should be learning more about how other immigrants have come over. So like other immigrants, most Chinese came to the United States to find better lives and job opportunities. The process of Chinese immigration can be divided into 3 waves. But before we dive into those waves, I want to share with you some fun facts. Spanish records document Chinese settlements in Acapulco as early as the 1600s, and later in Mexico City by 1635. Another fun fact, in 1785, 3 Chinese sailors arrived in Baltimore, where they were stranded on shore by the trading ship that brought them there from Guangzhou. But we don't know what happened to them after that. Now, the first wave of Chinese immigrants arrived into the United States around 1815. The Chinese moved to California in large numbers during the California Gold Rush, and again in 1860s when the Central Pacific Railroad recruited large labor gangs, many on 5-year contracts, to build its portion of the Transcontinental Railroad, which was completed in 1869. Between 1850 and 1882, more than 300,000 Chinese immigrants arrived. During the second wave, which was between 1882 and 1965, only diplomats, merchants, and students and their dependents were allowed to travel to the US. Other Chinese immigrant activities were mainly limited to Chinatowns. During this time, the US government continued to limit the Chinese immigrants' rights. The Chinese Exclusion Acts were repealed during World War II, and thousands of young Chinese men were persuaded to join the military. In the third wave, the Civil Rights Act 1964 and Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 brought a new period of Chinese American immigration. Finally, in 1965, Chinese immigration was changed to be on an equal basis with all other countries of the world. The American government established an annual quota, and 20,000 Chinese could receive US citizenship. Under these new laws, two types of Chinese immigrants were allowed to enter the US. The first consisted of highly select and well-educated Chinese, and the second type were those who escaped political instability or repression and poverty-stricken refugees. Just a quick fun fact, my mother, who's Chinese born in Vietnam, she left during the end of the Vietnam War. And so she was able to come into the United States as a refugee.
Oh, wow. That is really interesting.
Yeah. The flow of immigration wasn't easy for the Chinese. Here's just a quick run through of the exclusion era. In 1870, Congress approves the Naturalization Act barring Chinese from obtaining US citizenship. 1882, Congress passes the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, which halts Chinese labor immigration for 10 years and denies Chinese from becoming naturalized US citizens. In 1892, the Geary Act extends the Chinese Exclusion Act for another 10 years. So that's 20 years. And it requires all Chinese residents to carry permits. In 1904, Congress makes the Chinese Exclusion Acts indefinite. Law enforcement arrested 250 allegedly illegal Chinese immigrants without search warrants. In 1924, the Asian Exclusion Act, which is part of the Immigration Act of 1924, excludes all Asian laborer immigrants from entering the US. In 1943, Congress repeals all Chinese exclusion laws, which grants the Chinese the rights to become naturalized citizens and allows 105 Chinese immigrants to come over to the US each year. In 1952, the Walter McCarran Immigration and Naturalization Act revokes the Asian Exclusion Act of 1924. That's almost 30 years.
Yeah, that's quite a long time.
That's a very long time. In 1953, the Refugee Relief Act offers unlimited immigrant visas to Chinese refugees. In 1959, the US government implements the 8-year confession program to encourage illegal Chinese immigrants to reveal identities of illegal residents. That's mind-boggling that this was even implemented.
Right.
In 1965, a new Immigration Act effectively removes racial bias from America's immigration laws. And that, my friends, is the quick and dirty history lesson of Chinese American history. I'm gonna need a sip.
Yes.
Let's
take a break.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in. So do you have any questions on what I just told you?
Well, you know what? As a history professor at San Diego State University, really, as I talk about U.S. history, I try to talk about the diversified and multifaceted history of America, not the single narrative, which we are indoctrinated in to as K through 12, but to speak about all the different histories. And when I tell my students on the first day of every semester, we're going to learn about history, but we're going to learn about everyone's history in the making of this great nation. And so although I've touched on pieces of what you've just talked about, I was still learning other components that I had not known about Chinese history in just that quick segment. So for me, it's more of a learning moment, and just, I believe that we can never stop learning. And that's one of the great, facets to being a human being, is having that capability to always learn. And so for me, just hearing more about that just helped to inform me a little bit more. And so next semester, we'll be having Miss Tiki Oasis as one of our guest lecturers in one of my history classes. So come join us.
Oh boy, that's a lot of pressure. I'm getting a little nervous just thinking about it. Okay, now let's talk about Chinese influence in tiki. First off, I'd like to credit Punch Drink and the LAist for their articles and research on history of how Chinese food found its way to tiki culture. So cheers to them, and thank you so much for doing that hard work and research. The Chinese that remained in America during the late 1800s turned to one of two industries: restaurants or laundries. By the early 1900s, Chinese restaurants had begun to spread throughout the country. Chinese food in America almost exclusively refers to Cantonese cuisine, And what most Americans today think of as authentic Chinese fare usually reflects just an Americanized version of dishes from a small rural region of southern China, like Guangzhou, Hong Kong, so Cantonese cuisine. In 1933, Ernst Gant scraped together money to open Don Beachcomber's Cafe in Hollywood. And in 1937, Gant and his new wife, Cora's sunny son, decided to expand their bar and move over across the street to a roomier space with a full kitchen. Cora, or Sunny, realized that serving Cantonese food tweaked with just enough Polynesian fare, pineapple,
Right.
to label as their own would be exotic enough to entice, but not intimidate. The restaurant marked an early shift towards legitimizing Chinese cooking as an elevated and distinguished cuisine in the eyes of many non-Chinese Americans. So in the same year, in 1937, another budding entrepreneur in Oakland, Vic Bergeron, also added Chinese food to his tropical theme bar. Hinky Dinks was what it was originally opened up as, but they later renamed it to Trader Vic's. So Vic realized that most of his customers would be turned off by actual Polynesian food and created this faux Polynesian hit like the poo poo platter, which is a combination of Cantonese-ish appetizers like shrimp toast, egg rolls, sticky sweet pork ribs, arranged over a flaming bowl.
It sounds delicious. I'm getting hungry.
Me too.
Sorry.
I've only had alcohol in my stomach this whole time.
Happy hour.
Hey! Although Don and Vic culturally appropriated Chinese food, both were known for treating and paying their staff pretty well in the era where discrimination was rampant against Asians. It was only natural then that the growing number of Cantonese restaurant owners across the country would capitalize on the appropriation of Chinese food by the Tiki movement, retrofitting their own existing cocktail lounges with palm thatching and elaborate exotic drinks to attract thirsty customers. And that, my friend, is the quick and dirty of history of Chinese and how it became in our beloved Tiki culture. So when I was growing up in Phoenix, Arizona, my favorite dim sum restaurant was known as the China Doll. And it was this huge restaurant that was 2 stories. And I distinctly remember looking at their drink menus. And mind you, I was a kid and I was only allowed to drink Shirley Temples. But they had Mai Tais and Singapore slings and a couple of other tiki drinks. And, you know, I was always fascinated as a kid. I'm like, this doesn't seem very Asian or Cantonese. But I never thought twice until, you know, getting into more of the tiki culture, you know, where that stemmed from and, you know, why it showed up at some random dim sum place in Phoenix, Arizona. So it was really nice to be able to do the research and really figure out, you know, the Chinese history, but also the tiki history and how those two came to marry.
Yeah, well, Sunny at the time, what you're talking about 1937 with her and Don opening up the restaurant, to one, just know that when you're having drinks, people get the munchies, they're gonna get hungry, so let's bring in food. But how Sunny really engaged the capitalization on that tiki and that fantasy and that whole aurora of being somewhere far away, distant, or exotic, and bringing in Chinese food and Cantonese food and throwing in the pineapples. Simple enough for 1933, but it worked.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I also remember as a little kid, my favorite food was Chinese food, and my dad as well. And I just remember always going to the Chinese restaurant, and there was always a bar, a little door into the bar.
Yeah.
And it was always so dark and moody and a lot like the tiki room, where just really cool lights, fake plants, sometimes real. But the one thing that always caught my eye were these mugs that they were drinking out of. And that was always my kind of fascination into tiki from like 5 to 7 years old at that age. You know, that's where it kind of really started. And just thinking, those look so cool. How come only the adults get to have those? But, you know, there were these different types of images that were created. And again, that's really where I saw tiki in Chinese restaurants. For me, I never realized as a child and even as a young teenager that they were really two separate worlds, but they had kind of fused together in that type of, restaurant area.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I'm glad you shared that because, I think as kids growing up in America and, growing up with Chinese food, you go in there and not really understanding. You're like, well, I've never seen this before at other restaurants. Like, how does it all fit in? But yeah, I want to go ahead and just kind of pivot from talking about history. I know you guys didn't come in here to learn about history, but let's go ahead and talk about some bars.
Yeah, so we have a couple guests today. I do see Noah on with us at the moment. I don't see Tommy from Secret Tiki Temple, but if Noah would like to join us, maybe we can get him on. Hey, aloha.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Okay, awesome.
Oh,
Hey, thanks for inviting me out.
No, thank you for being our guest today. We really do appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yeah, so Noah, thank you for being on here. We're so excited to have you. You are the owner of Skull and Crown Trading Company in Honolulu, Hawaii. How did you get your entrance into the industry?
Well, I'm a promoter first, before anything. I was the one that always used to throw parties, high school and college, all these secret parties. And I got into different things. And then promoted a lot of different events. Not tiki, but just like more indie rock stuff, art events here in Hawaii, all underground. And then I kind of fell in love with tiki and fascination with more horror and Halloween activations. And then that kind of, I was like, hey, I do events, large scale events and different pop-up bars as well in Hawaii.
That's really cool.
So I was like, let's try and do a brick and mortar. So Skull and Crown was a passion project for me, myself, and my partner, Angelina Khan, who love tikis and stuff.
Well, that's really cool. That's great. I can't wait till we can actually personally hang out, which is hopefully going to be soon. But I actually come from, doing a lot of parties in the industry here on the mainland back in the day. And so, kind of just share stories and hear a little bit about that. But so this is something that I was interested in. And so Skull and Crown is fairly new. And on the mainland here, most bar restaurant owners look at concepts which may be considered unique or different, right? How do I stand out in this particular area or neighborhood? For your theme, you did something quite the opposite, and you really embraced a lot of the history around you, specifically because of the area that you're in. Can you give us your story on how this evolved for you and really what you're hoping guests will feel or experience at your bar?
I think, Hawaii is, it's escapism when everyone comes here already. So that's why I feel like we have to do a different thing, not just cater to guests or tourists, but also to the locals. Here in Hawaii, we have a lot of things to do, but we're on an island and it's kind of limited. Yeah, we like to go to the beach, surf, fish, all that stuff. But other than that, we want to try and bring some sort of escapism here to Hawaii, just for the locals, my friends. As I said before, it was a passion project to cater to my friends and my family people as well. Yeah, so family members as well, a place to bring them out. So we were offered to do Skull and Crown in Waikiki maybe 3 years ago. And we turned that down and was like, oh, let's try and bring it more to downtown Honolulu, Chinatown. and we're friends with the landlord of that place, and they kind of opened it up for us and said, "Oh yeah, we have a space here on Hotel Street, which is iconic, notorious too. I mean, there's so much history. The ports were across the street, down the road, so." Before everyone got dispersed out into the plantation, we had like Filipinos, Koreans, Chinese, which were the first, a whole melting pot of cultures gathered right in that area and made trades, and was trying to figure out things, and it was really a melting pot of different things. Chinese, they brought crack seeds, all that stuff, and they brought that, and that's why uh, just the whole culinary aspect of that, it's just so vibrant. The all the food here in Hawaii, like the mixed plates, we got everything, like a little bit of Korean food, a little bit of stuff, mac salad, Hawaiian, poke, and it was just a mixture of that stuff. So a lot of stuff. I mean, there's so much history there. People would come on Hotel Street and make trades, so we decided to do a trading company theme, mixed it in with tiki craft cocktails, Hawaiiana, and yeah, just all that fun stuff.
Oh, that sounds so awesome. Just kind of going off of what you said, just being where you're located and having all of the different cultures, coming to Skull and Crown, or, how has the reception been, and just, the melding of all of the different cultures in one?
It's awesome. I mean, I myself, I mix. I'm Hawaiian, Filipino, and some Chinese, and I'm just like a poi dog here, mixed bag. But I mean, that's pretty much what it is for everyone. Like during the plantation, late 1800s, early 1900s, uh, we're all spread out into the plantation and in the camps to work on the sugar plantation or pineapple plantation. So we all got along, sort of, I guess, as far as like different ethnicities. We all tried to adapt and learn from each other. But right now, it's just so culturally diverse, and which what makes it like really different and awesome. And so we try to incorporate different things and ingredients that you can only get like in Chinatown. So we have the Chinatown market there, and we just kind of go around and check out what kind of ingredients we can incorporate into the cocktails and bring that sort of fusion, as well as use like a lot of local rums from the local distilleries out here. And we all try to support local. So that's what it's about here.
That's the way to go. Support local for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Our final question for you is, can you tell us about the first Tiki in Waikiki event?
So that's another passion project thing that we decided we came up with. We had the idea 2 years ago, but we were so distracted with different things and different activations. And then, of course, last year, COVID. And then this year, International Marketplace said, hey, let's try and do something in August, because, that's their 5-year reopening celebration thing after they did the whole revamping thing. And then we said, okay. And we just got all our friends together and decided to put this on here in Hawaii. Almost every night, everyone's a lot of our customers that come out to Skull and Crown, they're like, oh, I wish there was a connection between us in Hawaii and the mainland. And I feel like putting on something like this, where we kind of just welcome all the ohana on the mainland out to Hawaii to celebrate, here, especially. I mean, we have different locations. It's not held within a hotel, which is the White Sands, a beautiful place too. But we want to try and hold different activations throughout the island. So we have the Chinatown Hills Half Acre Tour. We're going out to the distillery at Kohana for our luau there. We have Don Tiki, White Tiki reuniting for that to perform for us. A lot of Hawaiian food. And we got Hills Half Acre Tour in Chinatown. And then we'll do another luau there on that Sunday night. We got Aliko Hyman Trio performing. We have White Sands Pool Party. We got Hula Rosie and the Pearl Divers, which is an awesome burlesque show too. It's gonna be a fun rager, all over the place, and it'll be pretty cool and different. And this is our first one, so we're just kind of putting things together and kind of working out the kinks so that next year we can do a lot of stuff. But we also have amazing symposiums by this man right here, Mr. Gregorio. He'll be coming out to Hawaii to represent. We also got Adrian coming out too. Adrian, Polynesian Pop. He'll be doing something and emceeing the event, as well as Dawn of Tiki, Alex Lamb, and his crew to do a symposium there. So everything is all incorporated or included in the ticket. So food, drinks at the distillery, rum tasting. Yeah, I could go on, but that's just a little bit of what we'll be doing for those 3 days, August 27th, 28th, and 29th.
Wow, that's a lot. And that's coming up quick. So I'm sure you're super busy. But before we close up with you today, because I know you've got a busy schedule and we do appreciate your time here. Do you have any other events, anything you want to plug before you sign off?
Other events, nothing other than Tiki and Waikiki. So just check out tikiandwaikiki.com. You can get tickets, and yeah, it'll be a good old time. And come visit us at Skull and Crown Trading Company in historic and notorious Honolulu, 62 North Hotel Street.
Great. And what's your Instagram handle?
You can follow me on the the Skull and Crown, which is Skull and Crown Trading. Skull and Crown Trading Co.
Crown Trading Co. CO. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, but again, thanks a lot for your time. I'm excited to go and present at Tiki and Waikiki. If you're not following Skull and Crown yet, please do check them out on also their other Instagram, which is Tiki and Waikiki. You can get all the information there. It's going to be a really amazing event. It's really going to, like Noah said, just kind of give you this buffet of Hawaii and the different culture and things that are happening there. So it's going to be really exciting. And again, mahalo for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okole Maluna.
Oh yeah, right here.
All right, we got a cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yay. Thank you so much. It was nice
talking. Thank you guys. Awesome. Mahalo.
Mahalo.
That's amazing. He's doing so much. And so you're going to the 3-day event end of August.
Yeah, we're making it a 5-day event.
Good.
I mean, you have to if you're going out to Hawaii. But yeah, so Noah invited me to go over there and just kind of do the symposium that we're doing at Tiki Oasis, and to bring that there. And we're really crossing our fingers that we're going to be able to get Harry Yee down to the presentation. We're seeing what we can do to work it out. He's 102 going on 103 September, so it isn't as easy to move around, but we're really hoping that we may be able to get him down there as our guest of honor. So in the meantime, as we're waiting for Tommy to hopefully jump in, we're not sure if he's been able to log in with us. Do you mind seeing if you can get him some information? Thank you. So, all right. I'm going to talk a little bit about our Tapa Punch mug. So, for those of you who've been following us on Instagram at Kon-Tigo Tiki Bar, you may already know that we are in production and bringing the Tapa mug as it was in an illustration. So there's a Tapa mug that was created for the Hawaiian Village, and it's different in image. We didn't want to follow that or try and reproduce that. So we looked at the actual illustration that was on the 1959 menu from the Hilton Hawaiian Village, and we felt like it had so much character and just like, when you think of tiki and whimsical and just adventure, this illustration really had in the mug what I would think of being served, having a drink served in it. So this mug was created in 1959. It served the Tapa Punch, which was created by Harry Yee and was served in the Tapa room. It was also known for having the first hanging lantern and parasol ever used as a garnish. So when you think about this mug, there's a whole lot of history that's really embedded into it. We're not going to go into that, but what we are going to talk about is the mug launch, because we've been getting so many questions. When's it being released? Are you going to have them online? Are you going to be doing international? So we are in this step-by-step kind of process. But what we do have for sure is we are going to be officially launching the mug at Tiki Oasis this year. And it is going to be launched right after the symposium at Tiki Oasis on Saturday, 4 p.m. is put on by most of the members of the Harry Yee Collective. This symposium, which is Aloha from the Hawaiian Village, a tribute to Harry Yee, will be at 4 p.m. Saturday, July 31st at 4 p.m. till about 5:15, 5:30. So we are going to be bringing a limited quantity of these to the event. And for the attendees of our symposium, they're going to be able to get the first chance at buying them. After those attendees with the ticket in hand who have gone to our symposium have made their purchases, those who are general admission attendees to Tiki Oasis will have the option to buy it. And if we happen to have any of these left over, Sunday, we'll be selling those at our booth while we're vending for Sunday.
That's awesome. So limited number. I highly suggest that you attend the symposium. It's not too late to sign up. So go ahead, sign up, get your ticket, because seats are limited and you do want to get your hands on these mugs. I'm holding the mug right now. It's a great weight. There's a nice little lip to it. It's beautifully done. And you got this completed in a really short amount of time.
Yeah, so we're fortunate to just have timing work out and have the artist able to do it. The other thing is that it's a really straightforward mug, which took out a lot of the complication in producing it. So it just really worked out in so many different ways. And I think, you know, when the stars align, it's meant to be. You know, yeah. Connecting with Harry Yee, if you've seen on our Instagram, we sent him one of our early production mugs, and we're able to get a photograph with Harry and the Tapa Punch. The symposium is really a tribute to his legacy and contributions to Tiki, as well as his history as a Chinese American. And so hopefully you'll be able to get tickets to this. And like we know, most of these symposiums sell out. And at our symposium, we are going to be having a guest bartender, Samson Miller from Zombie Village and Pagan Idol. He's going to be our guest bartender at the event. Miss Tiki Oasis is going to be with us. Chase Sampson is going to be joining us. And we're, you know, trying to see how much pull we have to maybe get Adrian in there for a few minutes to say hi. But we'll see. I do want to, again, mention that you can get the tickets on tikioasis.com. We are in the Saturday tab, so please look for us. And if you're trying to get this mug, this is how you're going to get it, by going to the symposium and guaranteeing that you can make the purchase.
And who, by the way, helped create these mugs?
Yes, this is, he goes by a couple different names. David Caesar Outline Island, but you can find him in all of our posts, and he is tagged as the mug sculptor.
That's great. And how about these gorgeous little lantern?
Oh, yeah. So these have been out of production since the 1970s, really at the end of the 60s. These faded out as Tiki did, and so they went out of production, they went out of style. There was no demand for them, so all the machinery that used to make them just fell in disrepair or parted out and repurposed. This was just one of those elements of Tiki history that I really loved, and really has been the seed of fascination with, you know, Harry Yee, his cocktails, his contributions, and the guy who brought in parasails as one of the world's most famous cocktail garnishes. This is really where it all originated, and for me, I really wanted to bring that back to tiki. It was an original element, it was a vintage element, and so for nearly 2.5 years, I worked on trying to get these things reproduced. Finally, it happened, and now we are bringing them back to tiki. We're in a couple of restaurant bars, and we're going to be bringing these for sale, and they will be available at our vending booth. And also for those owners of restaurants and bars, we will have quantities available for wholesale at the event just for you.
That's awesome. And I'm so glad that you brought these back because they're so unique. We don't see them all around. So it's very rare. If you can get your hands on it, I highly suggest that you stop by Kon-Tigo Tiki vending booth at Tiki Oasis. Support local, support our artists. And let's go ahead and...
Were we able to get Tommy?
We don't see Tommy, so we apologize that Tommy wasn't able to join us here today. But we do want to pivot to a little thing here from our friend, Trader Sampson. So give me just a moment while I figure out technology.
For those of you out there while we're doing this, I hope you are enjoying your drink. If you're able to make today's special cocktail by Harry Yee, the Hawaiian Eye. And if not, I'm hoping that you're enjoying some nice ice cocktail today that is hopefully cooling you down, because it is definitely a beautiful day and a warm day out here in Southern California. So some of the things that I can talk about with Tommy is that he owns Secret Tiki Temple out in Florida. And he is also from Chinese ancestry and has, what he has told me about his restaurant is historically tiki infused Chinese into it. And then on the opposite end, we had the infusion of what Tommy said to be tiki into Chinese. And we've got him.
Yay!
Yes. All right.
And you're on mute, so unmute yourself. Yay!
Aloha.
Can you hear us?
All right.
This is awesome.
Finally.
Tommy, Okole, Maluna.
Aloha.
Cheers. Oh,
Nice.
that mug. Oh,
Here.
you know what? Let's just start off with that mug. Can you please tell our viewers about that freaking amazing mug?
Well, aloha, everyone. Aloha, Gregorio and Phoenix.
Aloha.
Aloha.
This is our first ever, I don't know if you want to call it a tiki mug, but it's actually our first ever drinking vessel. It was created with a collaboration with Taboo Relics and Ika Bookum. So we released it on Chinese New Year, February, I believe it was the 12th of this year. And we couldn't be more excited to have our first mug after 6 years in existence. And we love this lantern that was gifted us by the Kon-Tigo Tiki Bar.
Oh, that is so amazing. And
Yeah.
I love that mug. When I saw it posted on your Instagram page, I was just like, I need to get my hands on that. That needs to be in my collection.
That mug is awesome. And one thing that I just want to thank you as well, because not only is Tommy speaking about that individual lantern, but Tommy is one of the restaurant bars I spoke about that is actually going to be carrying our lanterns as a garnish.
Congratulations on that mug. It looks fantastic.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for embracing this contribution to tiki history and bringing it back into the restaurants and bars where it really originated from, and for keeping that aspect of tiki history alive. So mahalo, and really appreciate it.
Yeah, and just a formal introduction so everyone knows, this is Tommy, who is the owner of Secret Tiki Temple in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yep, thank you. We're trying to represent tiki and build it up in Northeast Florida. We haven't had tiki in the city since probably like the 1980s or the 1990s. And I didn't grow up with tiki, but I grew up in a Chinese restaurant. So I appreciate the Chinese history that you shared earlier, Phoenix. I didn't. I did take Chinese history in college, but I forgot all the details, and I appreciate you refreshing my memory.
Yeah, it was a really good lesson for me too as I was doing my research.
Mm-hmm.
So could you tell us, tell our viewers a little bit more about how you got into the industry and being the owner of this Chinese tiki restaurant that you have going?
Sure. Long story short, all my life growing up in the U.S., I was born in Greenville, Mississippi, of all places. And my parents, like many immigrants, they came over not knowing a lot of English, and there were very few opportunities business-wise to get into. And so I think my parents originally started with a grocery store. So we are part of that Chinese Mississippi Delta population that a lot of people now are currently making documentaries and writing books about. And one of my bucket list things is to hopefully one day go visit back to where I was actually born and to see kind of like my roots. But I grew up pretty much the majority of my life in Jacksonville, Florida, in a Chinese restaurant, not by choice. We were kind of like growing up, didn't realize we were anything different than anyone else until we got a little older, my brother and I, and then all my cousins. We realized that we were kind of like the only Asians, Chinese Americans living in the city. There were other Chinese restaurants, but we didn't really connect. There wasn't a whole lot of networking, not like in the Chinatowns in the bigger cities, like New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, Chicago. But fast forward about how we got into tiki. I was actually introduced to tiki when I lived in Los Angeles from the years of 1987 to 2007. And I had a Cuban roommate. A lot of people in the scene probably know him as Tiki Al, not Crazy Al, but Tiki Al. And he was actually my roommate, and we lived together in Shanghai, China for almost 6.5 years.
Oh, wow.
And by living there, we discovered there was a Trader Vic's in Shanghai. It's no longer there. There was a Trader Vic's, I believe, was in Beijing, and they basically closed within 18 months. So I don't think the Chinese really knew what tiki culture was, or what tiki restaurants or Polynesian style cuisine, or I guess maybe Cantonese cuisine reinterpreted for the Chinese market. It just didn't work. I found myself in Tiki Out. We were like pretty much their only customers every week. So, but fast forward, I've moved back to Jacksonville in 2015 actually. And I delved into tiki because of my family's restaurant. We've actually been in business for 46 years, and we've only had the Tiki Temple for 6 years. And it was like an evolutionary process. Didn't know what we were really getting ourselves into 6 years ago. But now we've kind of catapulted and become like a hidden gem in Jacksonville. And people right now find us on online through the Facebook, through social media. We don't do any advertising, and we're booked every night. It's insane.
Oh, wow.
So
that's great.
Yeah, thanks first of all, thank you for having me on your show. And I wish you guys only the best on the West Coast. I miss the West Coast, but for now I gotta hold it up for the East Coast,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Well,
go ahead.
Being that you came from a legacy of, Chinese restaurants in your family, did you immediately embrace owning a Chinese restaurant yourself, or did you have other ideas?
No, actually, I hated growing up in a Chinese restaurant. We had to peel shrimp and peel onions, and we did it pretty much, not making tons of money. And all my life I wanted to be like an artist, but parents, Chinese parents don't support, their kids going in the arts. They wanted us to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, accountants, business people.
This is fact.
This is 100% fact. Like, I have a lot of parallels to you. You know, growing up, my parents saved up all of their money and they opened up a convenience store. So as kids, and it was just my brothers, my two brothers and myself, we would go to school, and then after school, we would have to go to the store and stock the shelves. And
That's like my life.
I wanted to be a ballerina. And my parents are like, no, you are going to be a doctor. But I can't stand the sight of blood. So I decided to pivot and I went into finance instead.
Oh, excellent.
So Tommy had peeling shrimp and you were like boxes and cans, or like that's your...
Yeah, I would have to stock the liquor bottles. And as form of payment, it would be bags of Cheetos or like pickles.
Well, I remember cans of Spam. And but the funny thing is that I didn't realize we had a connection with our restaurant, and our restaurant is actually called Pagoda. It's the second oldest Chinese restaurant in the city of Jacksonville, and my parents still run it. Got family. It was started with my grandparents, my two uncles, aunts and uncles, cousins. We were all involved. But now, you know, times have changed. Chinese restaurants aren't Chinese restaurants anymore. You probably see more of these like takeout, fast food type of restaurants in the strip malls, and places like this are kind of like the old school Polynesian tiki temples, right? That are starting to disappear. I tell people every day that like restaurants like ours, because we're looking at probably about 6,000 square feet, a little bit less, and you don't find sit down Chinese restaurants that easily anymore, unless you're in a Chinatown. So I've been to Phoenix, and I know that you guys have a Chinatown, right? But we don't have a Chinatown in Jacksonville.
Not anymore. So funny enough,
No,
I moved out of Phoenix almost 10 years ago, and the Chinatown was on a decline. And I was reading articles, and they actually sold that land where the Chinatown sits because, you know, it's a prime real estate spot. They sold it, but the city of Phoenix said, you have to keep its architecture. I don't know what they're using for it now.
Wow.
But they have the architecture, but no actual Chinatown. So it's a bit disappointing because, you know, in a way, it was just kind of like a place for all of the Chinese. And, you know, there have been Chinese in Phoenix, Arizona since the late 1800s, and to not have something there for the Chinese to go to and really celebrate the culture was very disappointing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've actually been to Phoenix, and I've visited that Chinatown. I didn't know it was gone.
Yeah, I mean, the structure is still there. I don't even think there's a Ranch 99 there anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish we had a Ranch 99.
Oh, wait.
Like if we want to find a Chinatown, we have to drive down to Orlando, which is 2 hours south of us. So.
Oh, wow, that's quite a drive.
Wow, that is a far drive to get all of the good Chinese or Asian snacks.
So,
but I wanted to share just this little bit of note that people that aren't familiar with our restaurant, and we actually have a connection to the Mai Kai. My dad's uncle, which is my great uncle, was Kenny Lee, and he was the head chef of the Mai Kai when they first opened in 1956 and 57.
wow,
That's so cool.
that is crazy history.
Isn't that crazy? So that actually inspired me more to build tiki in Jacksonville, even more so after I started our project. And so I did a lot more like research and digging, and actually, you know, took my parents to the Mai Kai for the first time for the 60th anniversary celebration.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
Well,
so it kind of went full circle, you know.
So yeah, so Mai Kai history is alive there at your restaurant and tiki bar.
Well, a little bit. I mean, we have some memorabilia. We have a postcard, and eventually I'd like to put a picture of my great uncle on the wall in the Secret Tiki Temple. It's a small little space. We only hold about 35, 40 people. And we're so busy now, we're actually reservation only.
Wow.
We don't do any, like I said, we don't do any advertising. And every night it's overwhelming.
Well, that says a lot. And, you know, to be respectful of your time.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. And I know just because I've been, you know, fortunate enough to become friends with Tommy over the last half year, and it's been amazing. But I also know like he's an extremely busy person. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Before you go, could you tell our followers where to connect with you? And is there anything you'd like to plug?
Well, I'll plug our mug again. The best way to follow us and our activities is on Secret Tiki Temple on our Instagram. That's the only thing that we actually will occasionally post a photo or post an event. We now kind of do events once a month, and we're looking forward to future collaborations with you guys on the West Coast and doing more with Kon-Tigo and the Tiki Bar and your awesome lanterns.
Yeah.
And we can't get, like I said, we'll be getting more of these, and we'll be hooking you guys up with one of these. So
Wow.
don't worry about that.
Yay.
And yeah, just wanted to share some of our other. I just love, vintage tiki mugs and,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so
and
cool.
the
Nice.
connection with
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely vintage.
yeah. I've got this, a little pagoda.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, Dakota, that's cool.
That's so cool.
And I love this mug
I've
from
been able to find that.
Tiki
Oh,
Bar.
I've seen that one before. Yeah.
Ooh, that one's really cool.
This I found at Target.
Well, it's got to be fun too.
Yeah, we just like to have a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
hopefully one day we'll be able to host you guys over here on the East Coast. And we wish you much success. And I'm looking forward to hopefully attending my first Tiki Oasis one day as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully next year it would be lovely to meet you in person.
Tommy,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for joining us. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Have a beautiful day.
Welcome, guys.
All
All
right.
right.
Hello.
Mahalo.
Mahalo.
All right, cool. So hopefully we'll have Chase on, Trader Sampson.
Yeah.
We're running tight on time, but
We
I
have
think
just one last thing, and I apologize. I'm very new to sharing screens, so I'm hoping I can get this right.
yep. So at the top.
Yeah, give me a momento. Hold on here.
I think we have no sound.
Which is a policy advocacy group. They track hate crimes. They fight for justice for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in the United States. It's an awesome organization. You can look them up and find more information about them. But $10 will go to them from you. Each $10 will get you an entry into our raffle where you could win one of our 30 prizes. You can enter as many times as you want for $10. So say you want to donate $100, that's 10 entries. $200, that's 20 entries. The stuff we're giving away is crazy. We're talking original art pieces from some of your favorite artists that you know very well. Limited edition tiki mugs, glassware,
Are you guys?
shirts.
You're inside. Oh, okay.
Class, ingredients. We've got crazy stuff. You're going to be very excited about it. So head over to my page and you'll learn a lot more about it.
Okay.
And in 1 month's time, 30 days, right back on my page, we're going to be doing a live stream.
Can you,
We're gonna announce all the winners.
Can you do me a favor and go?
Again, sorry I couldn't be here today. Thank you all in advance for your donations, and we hope to raise a ton of money. We will see you soon. Bye.
Press the big.
Great. Let's see here.
Okay, so go ahead and.
I don't know if everyone was able to hear the audio, and I apologize. We are going to have the video on our Instagram. So right after this session is over, we'll play it again. We'll apologize if you weren't able to.
Yeah, so usually you're able to. Okay, all right, so yeah, so unfortunately, if you weren't able to hear that whole message by Chase, please follow us on our Instagrams. Follow Chase at Trader Sampson. That's at TraderSampson on Instagram. And you can find out more details about the fundraiser, which is in conjunction with the sales of the mug. One of the things that we didn't mention is that a large portion of the proceeds from this mug are going to go support the AAPI community. And with the fundraiser, we hope to really raise a good amount to make positive change. So when you're supporting the raffle, when you're buying this mug, just know that you are supporting a larger cause. And I guess finally, I would like to quickly just thank those who have been a part of the collaborative and have been supporting us. So Adrian at Desert Oasis, Miss Tiki Oasis, Phoenix, Tommy at the Secret Tiki Temple, Leonard from Stowaway, and Chase of the Coconut Canteen. They are all part of the collaborative, and we want to definitely thank each one of them.
Thank you so much, Gregorio. And thank you again to Tommy, Noah, Trader Sampson for joining me here today. And thank you to all of you for tuning in. We apologize for the late start, technical difficulties, but we appreciate you just being with us here today. We look forward to seeing everyone at Tiki Oasis in just a few weeks. Don't forget to sign up for the Harry Yee Tribute Seminar, along with other wonderful seminars, as seats are limited. To find out more details on the seminars, head on over to tikioasis.com. We'll see you soon. Aloha and mahalo.